Hello, good morning everyone. So usually I used to come up to stage, not writing any speech, but this time it's a testimony, right? You can't just come up and blabbers whatever you thought of at that moment. So I decided to write a speech and get my thought organized. And I wrote down a testimony for you guys so that, I can share my thoughts. Alright, so before I start my testimony, I would like to tell you about a quote, or pass a quote down to you guys first, because it was the quote that impresses me. So it was this holiday that I went to this Hong Kong Disneyland, and then I suddenly spotted a stranger sitting in front of me. He was wearing a sweater. At the back of his sweater, it was written, okay, a very good quote. It had a big, font, says "pass it on," and then underneath it there's a description. It only takes a spark to keep a fire glowing, and soon all those around can warm up in its glowing. So yeah, that's a little thing to start with. Okay. So it was said that faith can move the mountains. I had seen it with my own eyes, right? An account of people whose life was blessed with faith. God had touched them. We were all touched by God, one way or another. The silent conscience in your head that stops you from speeding down the Cincinnati snowy road, or the voice that pushes you to throw the inscribed ring down the volcano. We ask ourselves, what is that voice, right? But the actual question is, will you listen to it and do the right thing? I was touched by God too. His loving hands cradled me as an infant when I entered into the school. I was a curious boy. Trust me, I am. Still am. I always ask why and challenges beliefs after beliefs. Why are we going to the temple, Granny? Why does the people with white hat pray 5 times a day? Why are people believing in things that they can't see? Right? So I decided to ask my grade 1 teacher. Her name is Miss Rosemary Villa. I think some of you guys can remember her. She gave me a book to read about an old lad. Okay. I deemed him as a fool at first, to believe in that inner voice, and spent his whole life building a big boat. Right? Honestly, if it was me at that time, I would have stopped as soon as my friends mocked me about it. But he didn't. Right? He goes on and on, building it, putting faith in the unseen about the apocalyptic prophecy. Right? He and his family was the only one, and the animals of course, were able to survive the great cleansing. Right? And so the story was about faith. I didn't know what faith was back then. Right? It was simple, it was simply to believe in something you had not seen or happened. And this giant principle is what this school had taught me. To believe is to have faith and to hope. It will be the principle that will guide me through my courses of life. But this is yet the greatest thing about this school. Through my high school years here in this school, I was able to see a lot of many international schools. But EAS, this place, somehow it feels different. The prayers, ceremonies, admins, teachers, housekeepers, it's like we're all a family. A God, big, loving family. EAS, in God's name, did not only taught me how to live my life, but also gave me this bunch of brothers and sisters. One whom you can trust, confide, giggle, and spend time with. The next thing you know, you're already in Mambi's office talking about your relationship problem. This is a story of a little boy whose life was touched by God the moment he enters into this school. And as I learned to never lose hope and to pass it on, to pass the sparkles on. Thank you, AS. Thank you, God. The Bible said, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and future." That's what God said. It's a promise to you guys. That's why I decided from this day on, and I beg you, that do not lose hope in every single thing you do.